What I'm about to share with you is the fastest, easiest, and oftentimes the cheapest way to buy land. And you don't even need credit. So grab a pen and a piece of paper. You're going to want to take notes. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like these videos. My name is Wayne Turner. For nearly 30 years, I've done just about everything when it comes to real estate. Buying, flipping, selling, you name it. I've helped thousands of people. I share that with you so you can have the confidence knowing that the stuff and information you learn from me is tried and true, boots on the ground. This is not artificial intelligence, and this is not coming from a book. This is real life experience. You see, it's important to know that there are millions of acres of land across the United States owned by individuals, and those individuals are willing to sell their land to you on terms. Another term for that is called owner's terms or a land contract. And quite frankly, you give them a down payment. Most of the time it's around 10%. Of course, every piece of land is negotiable between you, the buyer, and the seller. They set an interest rate for that. Typically, it's anywhere from 6 to 7 to 8%. Once again, that's negotiable as well. And you pay monthly payments until you have the property paid for. Now, they will amortize that on 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. That means it stretches the payment out. Keep in mind, that makes your payment lower, but you are going to be paying that property owner more interest. Now, even though you're paying them more interest, it's important to always know this, and this is what I tell folks. It's not so much the cost of the money or the availability of the money. So this is the availability of the land. You don't have to have good credit or any credit whatsoever. Most of the time, they don't even check and verify your income because you're putting down 10%. They're just assuming you've got the money to pay for it. And if you don't pay for it, they get the land back and you lose your 10% down. However, the good news is you have a piece of land that you can improve, you can build upon, but always remember this, get it in writing. Make sure the purchase agreement between you, the buyer, and the seller selling you the property gives you permission to do whatever it is that you want to do on the property. But take it a step further. Don't rely on just that person. Ask to see a copy of the covenants and restrictions, the deed restrictions, if you will, because the last thing you want to do is purchase a property for someone and the deed restrictions come to find out say you can't have a mobile home on the property, or you have to build a minimum of a 1,500 square foot home, or you can't have livestock. You just need to know that going in so you don't get hung out on a piece of property that you can't enjoy. Now, before you go getting all happy and finding a piece of land that you can purchase, you have to consider the survey. You want to make sure you get a copy of the survey. There's homeowners out there, property owners if you will, and they won't do a survey. Drives me crazy, I know. Oftentimes they're like, no, if you want to buy it, you have to get a survey. But keep in mind, if you do the survey, that's your survey to keep. But on a 7-acre tract of land in Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, in the South where I'm located, it's going to run you anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000. That's money that you don't get back. So you want to have a copy of a survey. If they don't have a copy, you can go to your courthouse, your register of deeds, if you will, in your county, your parish, tell them the property, try to pull up some tax records. Your good real estate agent will have all that information for you, and they'll be able to pull the survey, if you will, that's recorded. And then you'll want to walk the property. The last thing you want to have happen is you purchase a piece of property only to find out you purchased less land than you thought. And yeah, it's happened. It has happened. I've seen it happen many a times before. That's why when you take that survey, you walk that property, make sure there's no encroachments, there's nothing of anybody else on that property. So when you take ownership of it, no one's going to come claiming anything or doing anything. And when you purchase property this way, most of the time there's a third-party mediator that's an attorney, where you basically pay the payment to the attorney and the attorney pays the payment to the seller. That way, it's a good connection where they can't have tax liens put on the land, you can't borrow against the land, both parties are protected. Now, if it's in a flood zone, that's not all bad. I live down here in southern Louisiana. I'm originally from Tennessee. Tennessee, we don't have to worry about so much flooding. Down here in southern Louisiana, everything's in a flood zone. But you can't panic by that because there's different flood zones. There's flood zones A, B, C, and X. A's the worst. B's a little bit better. C's what you typically want, and X is fantastic and great. That means that the likelihood of the properties flooding if they're in C and X is very slim. But listen, word of the wise, don't live in a flood zone without flood insurance. When you, for example, buy a piece of property, if it's in flood zone A, a lender, a bank, a mortgage company is going to require you have flood insurance. So just remember that if you purchase a piece of property, it's in a flood zone, the seller told you it's in a flood zone, you know it's in a flood zone, the survey say it's in a flood zone, and you don't have a problem with it. You just have to know when you build a piece of property on that, if you ever get a permanent financing mortgage on that property, you're going to have flood insurance. The lender requires it. Now, as I mentioned, I'm from Tennessee, and Tennessee has a lot of rock. So when you're looking at a property, you're walking a property, you have to kind of poke around and see, okay, it's not in a flood zone, but there's rock everywhere. How you know that is look around for cedar trees. You know those good smelling cedar trees, right? Cedar trees don't need much soil at all to grow. They will practically grow on a flat rock. And if you see lots of cedar trees, chances are there's a lot of rock in that land. If you suspect that, you can get a geological survey that can come out and show you how much rock is in the land and where the most rock is on the land. Now, as I mentioned, if it's not in writing, it doesn't happen. You want to make sure everything is in writing. That's why it's a good idea to close with a real estate attorney, a title company. They'll pull the deed, they'll pull the title, they'll make sure there's no back taxes, liens, encumbrances on the title. And listen, don't buy a piece of property without a title policy. You want to make sure you have a title policy because that covers you from the day you purchased it back, not moving forward. A title policy is title insurance. So insurance on a vehicle, for example, as you purchase it, now you got insurance into the future. Title policy on property covers the title from the day you purchased it back. So they basically do a title search and they're ensuring to you that there's no back taxes, liens, encumbrances, or anybody's owed any money on the property. Lord forbid they come knocking on the door, you have a title policy, show them the policy, say, nope, I don't owe you any money because I got a title policy. It's not that expensive, but never buy a piece of property without a title policy. And remember, if it's not in writing, it doesn't happen. Don't rely on the handshake stuff. I'm just sorry. I'm giving you advice from tried and true experience. If it's not in writing, it doesn't happen. Now here's a quick tip, and if you've stayed around for this long in the video, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative because this is good information and I'm glad that you want to learn. It's really important. I hope you've been taking notes, and once again, give us that thumbs up. But here's what you also have to understand. You can look at land that's listed for sale by real estate agents, for example, and it may not say that they offer owner's terms, but here's a little tip. You can always offer. You can always ask. Just because it doesn't mean or say that they are willing to do owner's terms, simply ask the real estate agent, hey, would they take 10% down? I'll pay terms. Let me amortize it over 20 years. That keeps my payment low. They make more interest on me, and then I'm putting 10% down on the property. It's a win-win. The answer is always no unless you ask. So that's a good tip. And if you like these videos, once again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. My name is Wayne Turner. I thank you for watching, and until next time, God bless you.